Bigger than capes.
Give me some outside.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and then I watched it.
Right.
Hello, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. This is our March 2022 roundup, and I'm Zach, and I'm...
and you're just doing it on your own, then.
Yeah, and I'm here with Angela, Will, and Matt, who I don't know why I'm introducing everybody wrong, but hey, that's who we are. We're Bigger Than Capes. Thanks.
Yeah, this has been us. We'll see you next time.
Hi, something a little bit wrong next time.
Hi, Matt. How you doing?
It seems like I might be doing a little better than you.
I don't know what it is. Every week I know the words. I know how to say them. I know how to introduce
Yeah. You know the tune, you know the lyrics, just not necessarily in the right order.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if it was last week or the week before where I had to restart the episode because I couldn't remember what the show was called.
That's a good start.
So
Yeah.
I'm doing better now, I guess.
Yeah, you got the name
We
right.
got the title, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so what's the show called again?
I believe it's Bigger Than Crepes, the all pancake podcast.
Pancake podcast.
Yeah.
I joke about Bigger Than Crepes every year, but
I do love a good savoury crepe.
Oh yeah. God,
Like,
I'm sweet.
No,
I can go either way.
Well,
Yeah.
but like doing like a Florentine style crepe with like a bechamel, spinach, egg.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So legitimately, we could do Bigger Than Crepes quite.
So yeah, in our March 2022 pancake roundup, what did everyone bring to the table? Because like I've already said about my bechamel. My Florentine.
I'm just down with a very simple crepe, just layered with Nutella.
Okay.
I mean, it's simple,
cool. It works.
but
Miles golden syrup every day of the week.
Zach,
I'm a maple kind of guy.
Okay, so Angela, we'll start with you then. What order do you put them in for this month? But yeah, so how is everyone? What have you all been up to?
I don't know.
That's good. Like
rocking back and forth in a darkened room, apparently.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Will, have you existed?
I've existed in some form or manner. I've been able to make a bit more progress on Bloodborne. It's slow and difficult, but moving on.
I'm playing through Elden Ring.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, but I'm committed to finishing Bloodborne. But yeah, Elden Ring looks...
Yeah, Elden Ring was going to be my, what's been destroying your life recently.
It looks very excellent.
It's great. I bought myself a new processor just so I'd run it more and more smoothly. I spent about 200, just over 200 quid.
It's why I will always be a console player.
Yeah. That's because you're sensible. But it's great. I'm running around on my horse. My horse is my friend. We have adventures. My horse double jumps up. My horse has a double jump. It's the best thing about that game. It's watching a horse double jump.
I remember in Breath of the Wild you could catch multiple horses, but I had such a deep connection with the first horse I caught, Stanley.
Yeah.
That I never caught another horse. I thought, what's the point?
You can ride a bear though.
Yeah, but Stanley, we really bonded.
Yeah,
you just click.
But it wouldn't
Stanley.
be it wouldn't be cheating on Stanley if it was a bear because that's a different species.
Is that the rule?
Yeah, it's like the zip code. It's like the postcode rule.
Not sure that'll hold up in a court of law.
When Will talks about catching horses, I just envision him with a huge butterfly net, just really going for it.
Running round. I mean, how would you catch a bear? Would you catch a bear the same way you catch a horse?
I mean, apparently, according to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, you jump on its back and you try and hold on until it becomes your friend.
Yeah. Angela, how about yourself? What you've been up to? Try catching any horses or bears?
I've not tried catching any horses. I have been trying to play Papers, Please.
Oh, Papers, Please.
Oh, Papers, Please
I
is great.
I am literally like, how many years? 7, 8 years too late?
About, probably.
Yeah.
Approximately, yeah.
But it's never too late, like for
It's
a
never
great
too late.
game like that.
Agreed, absolutely.
But it's on my iPad, so I do a little bit here and there.
Oh,
I keep replaying days because I hate myself.
Oh, I bet it's amazing with a touch screen.
It really works. It's like, dude, there is at one point you can get the multiple document upgrade.
Yeah,
What a full circle gaming's made, where an upgrade now is the multiple document DLC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
Where have
longer
we
Coming
ended
is
up
soon
in the
to a
world?
mobile game near you.
Yeah, horse armor to document upgrades.
But no, it's really good because I went into it thinking, yeah, I'm going to do it a certain way, and then you find yourself not doing it the way you thought you would, and then just like, okay, I hate myself now. So I'm going to have to go back and replay that day.
How many times has your family died due to exposure or due to not being able to get medicine?
Just the once so far.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm
Show off.
hopeful. That's because
Have you-
I've only played it through once when they died, and then I've just been trying to find every single way to make them survive. So,
Have you gotten anyone
It's not
wrongfully
good.
arrested?
Just two.
choose
I
not-
think 2 so far. There's a few.
Yeah.
There's a few. What confused me was the thing I always get wrong is the gender on the passport.
Yeah.
Because I just figure that fine, they want to, they identify male, absolutely fine. They identify female, fine. Forgetting that, of course, that's not the point. That they, you know, then it's a bit transphobic.
And Angela's
Great
too
game.
progressive for Papers, Please.
I'm too progressive. Yeah, that's basically it. Every mistake I've made is generally related to the gender.
Look at
Always
this
whenever I do it wrong.
wokeness killing Papers, Please.
That's what I've done, basically. I'm proud of myself.
It is a really good game. I haven't played it in a long time.
Social justice bureaucrat. But yeah,
it doesn't
no,
turn out well for you though.
No, it
it's
doesn't.
Like penalty, fine.
Game. Like the first time when you have like something go wrong and you have the person like jump the fence and stuff, and you see the little animation. It's such a simple little animation, but it's so effective at conveying everything. But yeah, we should probably talk about comics.
Probably should, yeah.
Rather than just talking about like great video games.
So this month is this month. This
I believe
week
it's
is our
March.
roundup of the month of March.
Mhm.
And I feel like we've got a real theme of sequels as well this week.
Yeah.
50% sequels.
50% sequel.
Largely to things we haven't talked about. So that's fun.
We have talked about Kill Lock.
Yes.
Quite a bit.
Yes.
We did an entire episode on that.
Yeah.
We were there.
Yeah. Was it all of us? I can't remember who.
I
think
think
it was
I
on.
was on it.
Yeah.
I was on it.
I think it was a big everybody together.
Angela, were you able to be on it? Or was that one you actually had to miss?
I can't remember.
Because I think I was just really sad that I couldn't. I think I might have been really sad that I couldn't tell you how right you were.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it does sound familiar.
That actually does. Yeah, that
I'll
does
have to
ring a
dig into
bell.
the
Actually,
archives
It's like-
later.
Yeah, I was like, I need to apologise to Angela for not reading this quicker.
yeah, because you'd picked it and then couldn't. Yeah, that does sound. I mean, we're getting derailed very quickly.
We are getting deep.
But yeah,
But
so,
anyway. So,
well, the four
four
books this month are Armorclads #1, Slumber #1, Count Crowley, Amateur Midnight Monster Hunter #1, and Kill Lock, the Artisan Wraith #1. And so who's starting us off with Armorclads?
Just very quickly intersect.
go on.
Just the way that it's written and how close the letters are together. It looks a little bit like it's called Armor Dads. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
I find that quite amusing. Anyway,
Yeah, it does.
very different,
Armor
very
Dad.
different comic that I'll
Yeah.
be writing next week.
Yeah. Well, as Armorclads is a Valiant book,
I wonder who.
I wonder who might be introducing that.
It was a real struggle for you this month to pick which book.
It was, but ultimately I already had the creative team typed up for the review, which you can read on biggerthancapes.com.
You can also support us over on our coffee page.
Oh, I didn't know we
Thank
had
you.
one of those.
Yeah,
had it
no
a
one does
while.
stuff. Keep forgetting to tell people.
Yeah, so there we are. Yeah, if you want more. So this will kind of be a bit like the review. So Armorclads is from Valiant. It is written by J.J. O'Connor, who is also credited with creating it. The other writer on it is Brian Buccellato.
Buccellato.
Thank you, Matt. The penciler is Manuel Garcia. The inker is Raul Fernandez. The colorist is Rex Locus. The letterer is one of my favourites, Dave Sharp. So Armorclads is, and we're going to have to dive a little bit into Valiant. Sorry, guys. It is new and original for Valiant. It doesn't really portend to anything previous. Because I got a bit excited when I saw the title Armorclads, because Armor Hunters was really good from 2014. And in 1994, there was an excellent series. No, it was terrible. Armorines. And Armorines was a whole bunch of Marines who were equipped with armor that was like the exosuit, and they went underwater and fought giant sharks and all that kind of stuff. This bears no resemblance to any of that, sadly. It's its own thing. So it takes place in a planetary system far from Earth. Mysteriously, everyone looks human, but, you know, that's that theory they had in Star Trek about multiple worlds evolving the same way. So, in a planetary system with worlds engaged in continuing battles for supremacy, nations have constructed advanced exoskeletal armor, known as Armorclads, hence the title, to fight wars and build worlds. Fueling this conquest, genetically engineered workers use construction class mechs called Ironclads to mine a valuable mineral known as the Pure, which is found on the planet Zeru. And the planet Zeru has a lot of bugs on it. Really, really nasty bugs. Bugs that will eat you alive. So yeah, basically the Ironclads are the workers. They are oppressed by the Armorclads. You get the feeling they're not doing this voluntarily, particularly. That it's basically slavery. So they're called grubs by the Armorclads. The Armorclads go along and they guard the Pure. The Ironclads mine it. The Ironclads' lives are worth very, very little. And we follow several of these characters. Don't get attached. Spoilers. So we've got Paris, we've got Layla, we've got Sam. They're the three main ones who actually have proper dialogue and have proper characters. Paris is kind of the leader. Layla's kind of the girl. I mean, she doesn't have a great deal of... None of them have a huge amount of characterization. No. Sam is kind of the bestest friend trope. We've also got Ida, Pulo, and Jax, who exist. Their handler, who is the Armorclad who deals with them, is Sergeant Troy. And yeah, so they're out mining. There is a tragic accident. Something happens, which Paris then gets this rebellious fire lit within him, as 'twere. And when they're outside and some bugs attack, Paris decides to sort of take control of the situation and refuses to help Sergeant Troy, and there's going to be consequences. So that's it. It's interesting. I read this about 4 times. I've read this a lot. It grows on you the more you read it. Because I have to say, it didn't... The first time I read it, I wasn't overly... I was like, oh, this reminds me of Starship Troopers, because there's people in suits fighting bugs on a planet.
I was about to say, Angela, like, there was one question I had the entire time. I was like, do you want to know more? Or like, I was just trying to figure out how many things from the Verhoeven Troopers movie I could, but also with things from like the Heinlein books where they actually have the giant mechanized suits and stuff.
But it does. So the more I read it, the more I managed to, I like it on its own merits. I think there is a lot of interesting stuff going on. It isn't. If you've read another Valiant book, it's nothing like another Valiant book, or certainly the ones that are out currently. It's quite newbie friendly in that you'll know as much as anyone who's read all the Valiant knows. So it's good from that. But yeah, these characters do sort of grow on you, and sort of the situation. It's not a book that I think is entirely successful on a first read, but I think there's a hell of a lot of good ideas. Admittedly, some of it does appear to be ripped off of a film, but I don't know, something about it, I think it was the second read through, I started to like it. By the third read through, I was really enjoying it, and I read it fourth, just for fun.
I'm glad you were enjoying it, because otherwise that just sounds like torture.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird. I can't remember what I said in the review, but I should do, because I only wrote it a few days ago. But yeah, I like it. I think Paris is a really interesting character in terms of sort of the way that you can see him develop. It's kind of unfortunate that there isn't a great deal of characterization in anyone else.
Do you feel like you forced yourself to like it?
No.
Okay. That's what I mean, like, by the trying again and again until...
I tried it again because I think it's interesting, because the first time I read it, I was like, oh, Starship Troopers. And I thought, I'm not... And the other thing is I'm coming in with the expectation Valiant at the moment is pushing a lot more to go back to its interconnected universe. Like The Harbinger and Shadow Man are both books that I don't think you can read without prior Valiant knowledge. You need that. They very much are trading on things that have happened previously. So I was a bit taken aback, because Valiant are also bringing back other characters. We're getting a new Archer and Armstrong. We're getting EXO again and all that. And they're trying to tie it all together. This is nothing like that. This is kind of doing its own thing. And I think that's why it didn't initially click with me, because my expectation was this is going to tie into the current Valiant. This is going to tie into things that they're planning this year. And it doesn't. And the first time I read it, I was like, oh. And then reading it again, I was like, I've got to take this on its own merits, because it is its own thing. It's its own book, and it needs to be taken almost separate. Just because it's a Valiant book, it doesn't mean it has to do with the Valiant universe.
So it's more about reading it with adjusted expectations.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. And it worked. And I like it a lot. I have to say, I like it a lot on those. There are flaws, but I think it's interesting. Anyone else? Or am I just right as usual?
Well, I mean, I think it is a collection of not like super original ideas. Obviously, we've said Starship Troopers. I think there's elements of like Avatar, the Cameron, not the Airbender, of like Alien. Those stories of kind of the oppressed working class. There's been in things like
a lot of media.
Yeah, a lot of, there's so many things I just can't pull one to thought right now. But I think it pulls them together in a like convincing and cohesive narrative. I think it sort of makes sense that all of these pieces are in place and how it plays out. I agree there's not a lot of characterization for anybody, but I think as a bit of world building, I think it does a pretty decent job to understand, just the stations of these people and kind of what the risks are. I think that the general designs of the suits, and particularly they don't really go into it, but there seems to be this like orange mechanism which follows them around, which appears to like either come in lots of different types or morph between types.
Yeah,
and it's kind of ever
people up and
it's just sort of ever present. And I thought the design of that was pretty cool. I like the look of that.
The thing I probably actually liked the most were like, because I'll be honest and say that it didn't super click with me on a first read, and I've not had chance yet to go back for a second. But after hearing from Angela, I might actually do that just to see. Because I definitely had the expectations of, it's a Valiant book. That means that it'll feel like a Valiant book in this particular way. I actually really liked the writing on like the propaganda, like
was
the indoctrination channel.
Yeah, like you're doing this for Alpha Run because of what you're doing. Alpha Run will have clean
the constant
stuff.
Yeah, like the constant like affirmation of heroism, basically, like the contrast of like between slavery and heroism and
hard work is salvation, that kind of
and it very much reminded me of a lot of the narrative that went on during the pandemic with nurses and stuff of heroes. You are heroes, and heroes give sacrifice, but there is something on the other side of this, and then when you find out that the other side is a tiny pay increase that doesn't keep up with inflation, that sort of thing. It felt very real in that way, like in its construction in that regard. And I found that actually one of the best bits of the book.
That's cool.
Also, there was one of the guys looked to have what might have been a pile bunker on his arm, and I love a pile bunker. It's one of my favorite dumb robot weapons. I'd say dumb robot weapon, cool robot weapon.
Cool robot weapons.
It can be both.
I really like the sort of action set piece where they have to use their various tools, because it is a Valiant book. Like, it's not massively graphic, but I think it still shows off the different weapons that they have at their employ. I mean, one guy's just got like chainsaws for arms. One guy's got a drill. It's
all chainsaw arms.
One's a chainsaw man.
He doesn't have a chainsaw for a face, and that's a drawback. But otherwise,
aside from that,
pretty much there. But I thought that was quite a cool little like action set piece. How that plays out. I think I like these characters.
I don't know, because I don't know who these characters really are yet.
I think we're early in the story. There's a lot to kind of come to terms with, but I did really like this. I think a few pages in, I'd basically forgotten that this was a Valiant book, because it's just not. Which isn't a bad thing. I think there have been Valiant books in the past. Britannia, I think, is a good example that's got nothing to do. And Britannia, much like this, weird. Much like this and Britannia have kind of constant opportunity to relate to Exo Manowar.
Yeah.
And both of them
don't do that.
At least at this point, resist. So there is any chance that this could become Exo Manowar adjacent. Or...
Yeah, when I saw the title Armorclads without having read the brief, I was like, oh, so this is going to be some sort of Exo team up, because Armorines is one of the rare books like from 90s Valiant I'd never even heard of.
You are missing out on some genuine giant shark action, Matt.
That reminds me, I think Armorines have been reused in Exo Manowar. I think they were a group like of villains.
They were thrown in for
They were thrown in.
Yeah, but I just never heard of the book before.
Much like Angela, I did think this was going to be like an updated Armorines. And hell, there's still time for it to be, let's be honest. They're in a different solar system. They could arrive on Earth, now, and it could have taken... We don't know. Time... We've seen the way Exo time traveled.
Yes.
Gets abducted by aliens, comes back thousands of years later. Anything could happen. And I guess that's the thing. This could become a Valiant universe book, but right now it just feels like a sci-fi book. Valiant are really.
And it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to become that. We just need to kind of a sense of whether it is or isn't. And right now, it's in that grey area, which is exciting in its own way, but.
I can live with this being a standalone sci-fi story. Absolutely. I don't need.
Yeah. I think Valiant have done a couple of times where they've thrown a few things out there to see what sticks, and you get the impression that if it's popular enough, it will then eventually probably fold in. Like, was it like Psylords?
Never folded in.
No.
I get the impression that one that was it. It just wasn't popular enough, so it didn't happen.
There was a reason it wasn't popular.
I get the impression that
if about the tie-in to come, though, there were definitely suggestions.
But it never did.
But I think that's it. If something picks up, if this gets enough traction, like I bet at some point it does somehow find its way into the bigger thing.
I think it's got more potential to get traction than Psylords.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
I think it's more accessible.
Psylords was a bit. cosmic and out there, and not a bad comic by any means, but I think it, with it being the name of a book from Valiant in the 90s, the product it gave us was then kind of out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a much more like relatable core conceit.
I often find myself fighting scorpion bugs when I'm on my way home from work. So yeah,
constantly.
Manchester's a tough city.
Yeah, I mine some pure on the side. I have a Will question.
Okay.
Oh no.
Onomatopoeia, Will, what's your opinion? Because I know normally you mention that.
Yeah, I do like it. I think it's it's used a lot in this.
Isn't it?
Which I'm actually all right with. Like I quite like the sometimes excessive like usage in like manga, where it's used for almost every sound and movement. But for the most part, it fills out the world for me. It makes it feel a bit more immersive. Because even though I don't like voice them in my head, they suggest a noise. Occasionally they can be a little bit distracting. Like I can't think of any particular bits, but there were times when the noise didn't appear to match up directly to what the action was, or it didn't appear to, and it made me think I'm not quite sure what's happening, because the onomatopoeia is making it a bit confusing.
Yeah, it's such an interesting.
They were few and far between.
It's such an interesting thing to think about in terms of like the language of comic books and comic book literacy is like that sort of understanding of the onomatopoeia, and how if it's off, it can totally change your reading of a scene. It's really fascinating. It's really fascinating.
No, I agree.
So, anyone have anything left to say on Armorclads?
I think it's quite nicely coloured.
Yeah.
It's not I guess it's not a hugely wide palette, but the kind of the yellow suits make it really easy to pick out who your Ironclads are versus your Armorclads, and I think do a little bit of kind of visual storytelling through the book.
I think art in general is pretty strong. It fits in with that kind of Valiant house style we've kind of come to expect. One thing that does interest me is that the book is called Armorclads, but then focuses on the group that are Ironclads.
Yeah, that would be my only. I wonder if it's Armorclads because we've done books with the name armor in them before.
See, I thought that is it a kind of cynical effort to sell on the armor name, even though
like armor sounds cooler than iron. It doesn't, but maybe that's what the thing.
Ironclads.
I think Ironclads would be.
I'd buy Ironclads.
Ironclads might also already be a trademarked term.
True.
In terms of for the title.
Yeah. I bet there's an Iron Man spin-off called Ironclads in the past somewhere.
Almost definitely. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I think iron anything's a bad way to go.
There was a film in 2011 called Ironclad. Does that help?
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's a classification of it's a type of boat.
Yeah, there was a 1991 film called Ironclads, and Ironclads is also a book by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So there you are.
Yeah.
Probably just avoiding a copyright nightmare.
Yeah. So, what's the next book on the list? Who's up next?
Oh, it's me. So the next book is Slumber from Image Comics. The writer is Tyler Burton Smith. The illustrator is Vanessa Cardinale. The colorist is Simon Robbins, and the letterer/designer is Steve Wands. And Slumber is a book about, I suppose, ultimately about Stetson, who is what did she call herself? Sort of like a dream detective?
Yeah, I think that's what she says.
Yeah.
And she cures people's nightmares by literally entering them through some sort of techno-magical door and shooting those nightmares with a shotgun, typically. But within those dreams, there is a serial killer who is using dreams to take control of people and make them kill seemingly random people, leaving behind a cryptic message and signature. and Stetson seems to have a connection with this person within the dreams, and is also chasing them while, solving people's nightmare problems.
And if there was a problem, I'll solve it.
Yeah.
Check out the beat whilst the Dream Police revolve it.
As Vanilla once sang.
Yeah.
Did he sang?
And his name's Rip Van Winkle, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Which is a sleepy thing.
Connections.
Oh, dreams.
We make them in dreams.
So, this book, I really like this. I think it has quite a cool sort of central concept. Not, again, a bit like Armorclads. It's not entirely sort of original, but I think this is quite an interesting spin on it. I think the art that goes with it between the kind of real world and dream worlds is very cool, with quite a stark difference in colouring between the two.
Yeah.
And then I think the kind of serial killer background story, which I'm sure becomes the 4 story before long, is real interesting and engaging enough that I want to see what. Anyway, the serial killer story is interesting. That's my point.
I agree. I wasn't sure what we were going to get with this because I read Queen of Bad Dreams from Vault a couple of years ago, which was kind of the dream detective story. But this is kind of the opposite. So in this, it's very much Stetson going into dreams to fix problems while the DJ revolves it. Whereas Queen of Bad Dreams was kind of escaped dreams being pursued in the real world. I'm glad this takes a different kind of approach, and I think the serial killer kind of possessing people through dreams is kind of weird but interesting. And I agree with what you've said about art. I think that there's a clear divide between the real and dream world. It's kind of played with a couple of times where it's a little bit close to the real thing, close to the real world even. But I think overall it's a good kind of clear contrast, especially, colouring does a lot. And kind of following MC Escher dream logic at times of upside down rooms and stairs to nowhere is kind of classic kind of dreamscape, but it works.
Yeah.
Art good.
Yes.
Art good.
Is good. Art is good.
Art cool, but good.
I also like that even though it's quite horrific because serial killers and blood, and some of it is quite dark, there's also just that bit of humour about, particularly when it's like, are you eating a human leg right now?
I thought you were going to go for Zombie Beetles because Zombie Beetles Forever.
Zombie Beetles Forever was also good. But it's there's a nice little bit of humour, which,
It reminded me of Chew, actually, in terms of those.
Yeah, that's the note I made as well.
In terms of those, like, cutaways to, like, other cases and stuff where it's like, Zombie Beetles, I'm gonna fuck David Bowie in Labyrinth. All those.
Just all of Matt's dreams put together in one sequence, really.
I mean, look, David Bowie in Labyrinth.
Just a man.
How dare you, Will?
He can fushigi my balls.
I'm so unhappy.
Yeah.
It's sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was. Christ, this feels wrong. I was going to back Matt up that this does feel very Chew. I think the cutaways and the kind of psychedelic dream sequences are very reminiscent of the kind of drug sequences in Chew. The kind of idea that I'm sure we're going to get people with different dream powers at some point, and
and it's cartoony in its presentation. Like you say, it is like quite violent. There's a point where what do they call it? Carny pedo.
Yeah.
And just blows its head off from point blank, and then it's all like stumpy and goopy. But it's very cartoon. It's very sort of surreal. It's not, It's not mimicking. And there's a head full, a tree full of eyeballs.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Sounds like the name of a grunge band.
Full of eyeballs. Yeah. We've not mentioned as well the fact that you've got the detective who's investigating the serial killings, Detective Finch.
Detective Finch. Yeah.
Who's clearly a maverick because he turns up to a crime scene with no pants.
And bunny slippers. We've all done
bunny
that.
Slippers, yeah. I mean, it's standard wear. And he's clearly like the other thread in this because this weird serial killing thing is attacking him in his dreams and possibly taking him over. And So it's interesting. So you've got sort of the two sides to it. You've got the down on his luck detective, and then you've got the dream detective. And I'm sure their paths will cross very soon.
It reminded me as well, just a quick, some of the like dream and alternate reality sort of like, and crossing storylines in some of the later parts of Jack Staff. But again, that's just for me, I think, that reference. But anyone else who read Jack Staff will know what I'm talking about if they ever read this.
Staffers out there.
Yep, all the staffers.
There seems to be, it sort of plays it off as slightly scientific. There's a computer that Ed clicks at, but they also travel to dreams just through like a red door.
Yeah, that's how we know it's not magic, Angela.
Yeah.
And also, as long as this computers can't do magic. That is a hard law. But also, her companion Zhang appears to be, a sort of monster or zombie of some sort, and that's sort of not touched on in this first issue particularly.
But the door thing reminds me of something, and it's not just Monsters Inc.
It's Monsters Inc.
It's not just Monsters Inc. It's something else.
Definitely just Monsters Inc.
I mean, there's like some Inception vibes. There's, dreams get touched on a bit. But I think this is quite a good take on the subject, and the characters are fun, and like it is. I think the script is very good. I think it's quite snappy, like quippy, but not irritatingly so. And Stetson looks like she's got a bit of depth to her. And is it Valkyra?
Yeah.
Also, the kind of mystery there about how they know each other, and I'm kind of into this. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
So next book.
Yes.
Book.
So next up is the long-named Count Crowley, Amateur Midnight Monster Hunter from Dark Horse. The story is by David Dasmalchian. Art and cover is by Lucas Kettner. Colours are by Lauren Affey. And letters are by Frank Kovacevic. So, Count Crowley, Amateur Midnight Monster Hunter, is the continuation of the previous 4-part series, Count Crowley, Reluctant Midnight Monster Hunter, in which Jerry Bartman had a bit of a meltdown whilst doing TV reporting and ended up having to take the place of the previous Count Crowley, now MIA, Rich Barnes, and become a horror host, as you do. But she hated it and kind of, looked awesome. It was very popular. It was very dismissive and hateful towards what she was doing. But, people liked that. So now she's stuck with that job.
It's a very good look.
It is. It's a strong image. And you can kind of see the other horror hosts it draws on.
Yes.
From there, she then finds out that the real Count Crowley, or original Count Crowley, was also a legitimate monster hunter on the side, as you do. This basically jumps in after that kind of initial run. Basically that's it. She finds out monsters are real, has a run-in with a werewolf, has a run-in with a kind of Frankenstein zombie type guy, or a Billy, as they're tagged in this. Billy, we're told what that's short for.
Bilatombia.
Bilatombia. And from what I remember of the first series, not a ton of like big story happened. It was a lot of establishment and kind of ludicrous ideas tacked together. And I think this kind of follows on pretty straight from that. It's been 3 years, so it's hard to remember all the deeds.
Yeah. I was going to say, was it cancelled previously, or was it just that it ran its length?
It was intended to be a 4-issue series. I think the delay between volumes more than anything is that David Desmalchian is a real person who does other things.
Yeah. That gets in the way.
Suicide Squad being probably the
most recent of things.
Big one. So I think it was like a lot of kind of celebrities writing comics. I think he just had other stuff to do, I guess.
He had a different job that he needed to do.
Indeed. I wasn't really expecting to get more of this, so I'm kind of glad we have, but I'm not entirely sure that this is the best kind of jumping on point. Basically, this issue follows Jerry as she tries to hunt a werewolf, essentially. But I feel like part of that story has already happened, and I'm kind of curious for how you guys managed to jump in at this point where she just kind of gets on with it more than anything. Obviously, Vincent Van Gogh gives you a little catch-up of...
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Vincent, for that lovely recap. I didn't actually mind it. I mean, I would like to probably go back and read what has happened previously, but I didn't think it was essential. It felt like, as you've said, like the previous issues were basically establishment. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're coming into it when she is established. As you sometimes do with jumping on points for other characters as well. So we've had a little recap. We know what she's about. It didn't feel like I needed a massive amount of prior knowledge. It felt like, I could just read it and understand it, which I did.
Jolly good.
And there was a werewolf. There was 2 werewolves. There was werewolves. And I think, it sort of feels like things have sort of expanded out a bit, and this is the expansion, but that again doesn't feel like it's punishing me for not reading the previous ones. It's, you get to know who Jerry is as a person, you get to know the people around her, you get to know the setup, you get to know that this world has actual monsters, and it's great. It doesn't sort of talk down to you. It sort of, hello, new reader, we'll handhold you through this, because it doesn't need to, because the plot line and the story works as it is. And that's my opinion.
Guess who really liked this book?
Who?
Me.
Oh, well, that's a surprise.
I did not see that coming.
But there wasn't any over-the-top violence in it. It wasn't drawn by James Stokoe. I can't figure it out.
So I'm not a huge horror person in a lot of ways, but what I am is a late night horror host type of horror person, and B-movie horror and stuff from 50s B horrors. All sorts of that sort of thing. There's a particular aesthetic to that that I really love. And the kind of contrast with that and the kind of 80s, the kind of contrast between that and the 80s kind of world that it's set in. I like modern Monster Hunter type books if they're done with some tongue-in-cheek stuff, and this is, it's quite charming, honestly, and the art is fantastic. I really love I I really love like the design on like Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah.
Like it's a great little thing, and like it's got all of the kind of horror host elements to it. Like when you look at his palette when he's painting, and it's got like the bat wing. It's got like the eyeball and the bone and stuff, like, and all of these sort of little things where it's like, how does a monster get the colors that they need for their paints? Well, of course they use like blood and sick and stuff. Like, it's got these like little kind of aesthetic touches and stuff. Like, I really like the old bastard man Crowley design, like sat there with his like cigarette holder and stuff, munching on beetroot, and with like a big old sword in one corner of his room, like a statue of Pazuzu, on his drawer, on the chest of drawers and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's like, it speaks to kind of like the Misfits fan in me. And just like the funny sort of like, we're aware that this is silly, but we're also going to play it seriously because in this world it's these people's lives sort of thing that I like. So I really liked this.
I agree with a lot of that. I think that's a lot of the things that drew me to this originally. Kind of ticks a lot of the same boxes as Elliot Rahal's not Creepshow. Shit, what was the series called? Somebody help me out.
Trying.
Will's definitely got the first one. It was in a bundle we both bought. Return to Whisper and Creature Feature, and it's called.
So it wasn't.
Is it Cult Classic?
Cult Classic. Thank you.
Okay. It, yeah.
Really similar to Elliot Rahal's Cult Classic series, and that kind of B movie trope.
Yeah.
Thing.
And a little bit of like hack and slash.
Yeah, and I like the fact that this is kind of played with stuff, and it's kind of. You've got Vincent, the old guy, kind of going, that's not how werewolves really work. You got to chain them up and cut the tongue out. You can't really kill a vampire. They're actually immortal. So,
Yeah,
they just tricked us into thinking they could be killed.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really dumb, but I like the idea that it's like, idiot, no, you can't kill a vampire. It's dumb, but it kind of works when we see so many different versions of vampires all the time. I like when someone just tells you it's all wrong.
Yeah. Well, I'm no connoisseur of the kind of B movie horror genre, but I found this a pretty fun read. Like, I think the characters read really well, and I think, as you say, it's got that tongue in cheek. It's a really fun kind of moment to moment read, and despite like some little details being missing, I didn't really get the fact that she'd taken over as Count Crowley, Jerry.
Yeah.
That wasn't sort of immediately. So when you gave your little blurb at the beginning, I thought, there's a couple of things there that I didn't know, but it didn't matter, and I kind of presumed that if I'd kept reading, that would come with a bit of time. And I didn't feel like there was much detail missing. There is a bit where she makes a phone call to a policeman.
I'm not sure if he's a policeman or if he's just another reporter.
Okay, might just be another reporter, just like he had to.
Because I think everyone she speaks to her brother as well, who is like the head of the TV network now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think everyone is just like TV related people that she's friends with.
That scene ends with her cat's like paw
Yeah.
on a phone book.
Yeah.
And at that point I thought, like, am I supposed to know if this cat's magic or something?
I don't think the cat's magic, but I like the idea that the cat is magic, just as a throwaway detail. The fact if the cat's just like, you're looking for Stephen Aggie, come on, just
it's right there.
And it's got some funny bits in it when she's trying to buy things from the like hardware store, and she's got the secateurs, and she's like doing ninja with them, and somebody's looking, and she just gives them a little wave. I like all that stuff, and yeah, despite not knowing a huge amount of the background scenario, yeah, it's fun. I don't know, yeah, it's good. I agree with you about the art as well. I think the art's like consistently really good throughout.
Yeah, really nice.
Again, just a good color palette as well. Like when it decides to like use like the dark and heavy sort of shades, as well for like the kind of like for the Van Gogh and for like the sort of creepier scenes. It's really effective because a lot of the rest of the time it's fairly bright and kind of normal looking. And then things like, and then just like everything shifts and goes a few shades darker. And yeah, it's really effective and yeah, just great.
Yeah, I agree. I think the art throughout is pretty great. I don't know if I've read anything else by Lucas Kettner, but this is pretty solid. And
so is this different than the first volume then, the art?
I think it's the same artist. I think it is still. Let's find out.
To Google, yeah. While we're looking that up,
I
also like as well is that it definitely has. It feels 1980s. Like the details are all there. Like yes, we had big tapes, and yes, we had corded phones, and
the big thing for me was smoking on the plane.
Yeah, smoking on the plane.
Yeah, that's like a culture shock. To think about.
The air stewards literally lighting like passengers' cigarettes on the plane.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, he did do the previous Count Crowley.
Hey. So yeah, it works. It works as a period piece also.
Mm-hmm.
And can I just say, when the car blows up, there's a sign that I quite like that says "Drinking and driving
kills friendship."
Yeah.
I got a kick out of that.
I also like as well that kind of each cover. I mean, obviously, you guys probably only seen this cover, but is very 80s B movie esque. I think that helps sell the overall product pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I think the names.
Oh, the name's solid. Yeah. And I like the fact that we've progressed from reluctant Midnight Monster Hunter to amateur Midnight Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's like made. Yeah. We've got the Monster Hunter discovered, the Monster Hunter rejected, and the Monster Hunter defined.
Because you've gone from reluctant Midnight Monster Hunter to amateur Midnight Monster Hunter, is she eventually going to go professional Midnight Monster Hunter?
Maybe she needs to maintain the amateur status so she can be in the Olympics.
Oh yeah.
That's a good point.
No, currently we're in like a territory system. She's going to take it nationwide and like break up like the NWA and the AWA.
Maybe that's it. There's 3 more volumes: professional Monster Hunter International or Incorporated.
Oh yeah,
and then retired
and then
Monster Hunter.
And then like
cups of tea with a.
And then we get Reborn or the Hunt for Count Crowley.
The Hunt for Red Hawk.
Run and Run.
I'm just trying to think of the Batman arcs that made that run up. Was it the Hunt or the Search for Bruce Wayne? You know, Zach.
I do, and I can't think. The Return of Bruce Wayne.
Where he's going through time.
Yeah, it's the Return of Bruce Wayne, I think.
Okay, Return. Okay, yeah. So it'd be the Return of Count Crowley, which would come sort of around the same time as Count Crowley.
After Count Crowley R.I.P.
Yeah. After Count Crowley and Son.
For those of you who are normal, we've got into a real Grant Morrison Batman hole here somehow.
We apologize.
God, their Batman run rules.
Yeah, it really does.
But yeah, so bigger than capes. We're not talking about
capes specifically.
Yes.
But someone in the next comic does wear a cape. So I'm sorry, we have to disqualify. We have to disqualify Killlock.
At least on the cover, Count Crowley also wears a cape.
Oh shit, you're right. Sorry, Count Crowley. you're out.
You disqualified.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have brought to the table Killlock the Artisan Wraith. It has art and words by Livio Ramondelli, lettering by Sean Lee, is edited by David Mariotti, and it rules because it's more Killlock. And yeah, like, so this like new series of the Killlock takes place kind of an indeterminate time after. It doesn't seem like it's too long, but it could be like, you know, maybe a couple years, or something. It's like medium.
Some time has passed.
Yeah, it's like sort of medium term, sort of afterwards. But kind of on this like interstellar scale, it's a little hard to tell. But yeah, it takes off where the first series, the Killlock, left off with the Artisan now possessing the body of the Wraith, both which are robots. It's robots. You remember the Killlock? There were robots. There's more of them.
Yeah, I can tell you that the Killlock was discussed by Bigger Than Capes, issue number 43, which was myself, Will, and Matt.
Ah, okay. Someone was missing. We just couldn't remember.
Zach was missing.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'm pretty sure I hosted a book club about it, so I was kind of there.
You win either way.
So, this new series, let's say, takes off after that and shifts our focus characters, which I think is the right decision. Really, we were talking beforehand, like when we read the first series, about how we'd be interested to see other corners of it and the kind of reaction almost to this series and kind of the wider universe and how it interacts with all of this. And that might be what we're getting. We follow two Resolve class robots. The Lurk, who is a tiny man robot who can go invisible, but over time the invisibility chip like destroys his memory to the point that like he no longer kind of has his old identity and has become just a new person almost, called the Lurk. And his partner, who is a robot who we do not get a name for, but we are introduced to seeing them seemingly defeat the Killlock in some way, like by some sort of surgery, and the kind of acceptance of their own destruction, but kind of realizing that they cannot defeat the Killlock, that it will do what it does, but that there's a way kind of through it. And it's a good scene. She seems really interesting, and we do not know enough about her yet, and I'm angry because I want to know everything. They've been hired by basically the central like ruling committee council class of this like society to find and kill the Artisan Wraith. And yeah, they're pursuing that. This book's good. This book's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's excellent.
Like, do yourself a favor, just read that first series, just so you can come and read this. I think that it actually does a very good job of kind of briefing you on the previous series, but obviously it lacks all of kind of the emotional weight of it.
Yeah.
So you could quite easily kind of hop on here. You just need to know that like there's this particular threat that was established in the previous series, and these people are being tasked to deal with it. Now, like, these two assassins or problem solvers have ulterior motives as well for taking this job, seemingly, and go from there. Like, you could read this, and you should.
I think it does a really good job of developing emotional attachment for the new two lead characters straight away. As you said, the memory loss thing tied to the cloaking technology is really, really interesting, meaning that it's kind of like a self-fulfilling cycle that he loses memory, so he shouldn't be using it very often, but because he is losing memory, he uses it more than he should, and so on.
He forgets he shouldn't be using it almost.
Yeah.
He almost enjoys the power as well. Like, it seems
and there's some self-arrogant belief that he won't be affected by.
Yeah, because he forgets that he's been affected.
Yeah, and thinks he's still sharp as he ever was. And the care that's shown by the other assassin bot, and then also the little backstory that they had to leave their original kind of casts. They're allowed to, I guess, self-modify more than any other class type. They don't have to adhere to anything, and that they're entirely despised by every other class type.
Yes. I really like, just to talk about the modifications, is that we see the unnamed robot go from, like, it establishes it so well, like going from this incredibly emotionally, this robot that's one of the most emotive faces on any of the robots we've seen in either series. In its introduction, the first couple of pages before it defeats the kill lock, and then for the rest of this book, we know that that's who they are, but we're never allowed to see their face again. Yeah. We never are allowed to see them physically display emotion.
They wear this sweet-looking armor.
Yeah. And I think that's really effective because it just, lets us go okay, this is who they are. And then just from then on, it's and now it's business. And they will show emotion in words and care in words, but never on their face again.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's also interesting is the one that modifies herself, the assassin, that she's identified as a she specifically.
Yes.
Mm.
So we've not, the previous kill lock, all the robot, I mean, the child was kind of, you could argue, gender neutral to a certain extent, but the others were all sort of masculine coded.
Yeah.
Whereas here you have a robot who is very clearly almost feminine coded when she has a face. Certainly in sort of the way that the face is framed with, bits coming down that you could say look a bit like hair. And then she becomes this, assassin without a face. But quite clearly there is that old sort of caring robot in there who's also really clever. And I think it's interesting to pick, because the Artisan's obviously quite masculine coded and he's a psychopath. And it's interesting to pit him against this feminine coded robot who's also smart and also will do anything necessary. So it will be interesting to sort of see if they ever, I'm assuming at one point they will meet. Who's to say? They may not. But I think it's interesting to have her as sort of the focus character this time, as opposed to the previous book, because we had this question about robot society, are they all actually guys?
Yeah.
So it is nice to sort of see that there is sort of some little differences.
And it's interesting to see when you say about the contrast between the Artisan and this robot, the fact that it seems at least it's playing with the kind of theme of in the first book, there's that sort of forced family through the kill lock, and the Artisan is basically they're all just tools to it, really. Whereas here, we're actually given someone who puts themselves in danger and for their colleague, for their comrade, they actually do that and take risks to protect them, and putting that up against the Wraith, the Artisan, who doesn't have those sorts of ties, and seeing how that comes together will be really interesting.
Mm-hmm. I'd be really interested to see if the other original 3 characters make any sort of reappearance in the
manifest in the mind.
It's sort of in this guise. I kind of got the impression that the story thread might be the unnamed character mentions that she's looking out for somebody, a great
smart
mind
enough to fix, which is the Wraith. The Artisan.
That's it. That feels like it might. Yeah, it starts as a hunt, but will probably end up being a sort of uneasy alliance.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have more of this book. Thank you so much, Angela, for turning us on to this.
Yeah, I'm glad they held the Wraith back until the end.
Yeah, I think it was nice that even though it's called the Artisan Wraith doesn't actually appear till right.
Yeah,
I don't really ever need them to be the focus character of the series. I'd be fine with cut-ins and stuff, but I want them to be this background thing that we're learning about again, almost.
Yeah, I don't think this would work if it was from the Artisan Wraith's point of view. I think it has to come from a different direction, because it's tough to have a character who is clearly the bad guy kind of narrate something when...
Well, are they?
I think he knows he's the bad guy as well.
Yeah, he doesn't care that he's the bad guy.
I mean, but we've said before that good guy and bad guy is kind of the society is so terrible that is.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Artisan though is he manipulates emotionally, including a child, to get what he wants. That's what makes him the bad guy.
It's very much meant as a the Artisan is very much ends justify the means.
And when he's pitted against that other Artisan, I was totally on Artisan 1's side. He was still my hero even in that moment.
I think it would be hard to frame this as. I just think it would be hard to frame this story from his point of view, where it's the cops are after me now. I think it's hard to.
Shit, coppers.
The Rozzers.
The 5-0.
Yeah.
No, I think that, as you said earlier, Matt, I think the new characters was an excellent choice as a reintroduction to the world.
They seem like they'll be really. I really need to know more about her so badly.
I think we will. I think.
Definitely. But it's exciting to be in this state.
Yeah, it's nice to sort of have something new to go at, because I think that is the best way of.
Because character exploration was one of the strengths of the first.
Well, who thought you would get that emotionally attached to those characters?
Yeah, agreed.
So, shall we move on to rankings?
Turn ranking. I think this can be pretty tough. They're all going to be very close for me. Kind of a clear top, and then the other 3 sort of sit. I'm going to go really quickly, and I'm going to go purely.
Let's see if ours match.
Complete gut. So this is not a really a doing down of any of these. But I guess in order of my excitement to continue reading, it would be at number 4, Armorclads.
Yeah.
Number 3, Count Crowley. I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised by that, because that's not usually my thing, but I did enjoy that. Number 2, Slumber. I really like the art in that, and the general kind of dream vibe. And number 4, Killlock, because it is a continuation of a really great series, and it continues to be really great.
Cool. Zach?
Yep.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. It's tough. I agree with Will. I think this is hard to rank. I'm going to stick with the original ranking I wrote down. I thought it was going to change, but I'm just going to power through. So I'm going to say that 4 is Count Crowley, because much as Will has said about Killlock, it is a continuation. I already like the series, and I think it's a really good book, and I'm going to enjoy reading more of it. But I think it's hard to say this is the best book of this month when it's issue 5 of an ongoing thing.
Fair.
I can see that, but...
I am going to completely ignore all the words I've just said in a minute, but shut up. I'm going to go 3, Slumber. I think it's a good first issue. I'm kind of invested in the mystery we get, but I do have some concerns that it's going to step on kind of Queen of Bad Dreams territory and end up being, it could easily end up being a very similar book. So I hope it's kind of does its own thing enough in the next issue, which I think will be the proving of where this really stands. But it's a good first. They're all good firsts, even if they're like a 4th or a 7th issue, whatever.
Yeah.
2, I'm going to go Killlock. I think it's a really good issue. I like the Resolve class characters, and I'm really curious as to where we're going to go. And I don't know who I am, but number 1 is Armorclads. I just think it was a strong first issue, and I think Killlock is 2 because of the same reason that Crowley is 4. I don't think this is its own thing. I think, and we obviously can't know, but if we were coming at this without 6 issues of the Killlock in the bank, I don't know if any of us would care that much. I think this is great based on the fact that we've had 6 great issues of the Killlock. Much like I think Count Crowley is great based on 4, on me already being invested. I don't know if I was coming at either of these new, if this would get me that much. Against all the odds, Armorclads feels like Valiant doing something different and just publishing an interesting sci-fi book. I also like the implied idea that no one really leaves when they turn 20. And I know it's in a million different stories, but I always like seeing how people are going to overcome that this time.
It's a collection of references, but they're all fun references.
Yeah.
Who's next?
I'll go. So this is going to be interesting because, it all comes down to Angela whether we've got 4 different lists this time, because I'm different from both of you. Okay. In 4th is Armorclads. I'm probably going to give it a second read, like Angela suggested. But first time didn't super click with me. I wasn't super invested. But I can see being more invested. Everything you read is to some extent formed from older ideas, repurposed and stuff, to sort of make something new. And this has got a fair bit of that, but there's nothing wrong with that. Every story does that. That's not a bad thing. I just didn't super click. 3rd is Slumber. It's fine. It's got a good core concept. And there's some pretty solid art in there. It's kind of cartoony in a way I appreciate at points. And I might give it another look. 2nd is Count Crowley. because it was fun. I hadn't read the first series. I intended to, but kind of let it slip. This was really easy to read as a first-time reader. I get what you were saying, Zach, about it basically being the 5th issue rather than having to kind of really start a new series. But it did unload me really easily.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of stuff I like. And number 1, the Kill Lock, Artisan Wraith. What more needs to be said on that one that I haven't said? It rules. Read it. Angela.
Well, this is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get 4 different lists.
Oh, because you agree with me.
No. So.
Because I think we've only ever had that once happen.
Yeah, we have, and yeah. I was concerned that the world would end. No. So number 4 is Count Crowley. I like it a lot. I'm intrigued to read more.
How dare you agree with Zach?
But I do. I mean, it has encouraged me to go back and read more of it. And it's fine as a jumping on point. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I will be interested to read more of it going forward as the amateur Midnight Monster Hunter as opposed to the reluctant one. But it is a continuation of a previous book. It's a fine jumping on point, but there you are. Number 3 would be Slumber, because I like it a lot. I think the art's really good. I had a lot of fun with it. It's just there's other ones that I like better. Slightly. It's very slight. It does bear similarities to some stuff we've already mentioned, but yeah, Slumber's good. It's interesting. The art's really cool. It's kind of fun, and also someone eats a human leg, so
yeah.
Why wouldn't you? Now the next 2.
Everyone guard your legs around Angela.
Well, I am feeling a bit peckish. So number 2, I'm going to go with the Kill Lock, the Artisan Wraith.
I can't believe you.
Ultimately,
I can't believe you've done this.
Ultimately, when this is when this story is complete,
that's okay, Angela. Make your excuses.
It's fine. I will probably like it more than the one that's at number 1. Who's to say?
Yeah.
But I think Zach's right. I think that the reason that we are invested in this book is because the Kill Lock was so damn good, and it is.
Yeah.
And the Kill Lock, the Artisan Wraith, is also really good, and I like that Livia Ramondelli is taking a different approach to it. But like at that end, when the Artisan Wraith finally appears, to me, that has a huge impact because I know exactly what has led up to that point.
Yeah.
If I was a new reader, and I always read number 1s, and I always read, I mean, if all my Valiant reviews tend to often say, oi, you're not thinking about new readers. But yeah, for me, that has the impact because I know what has come before. And if I didn't know what's come before, would seeing the Artisan Wraith and the Moon and all of that actually have the same emotional impact? And I have to say, I don't think it would. It does because I've read it and I adore the Kill Lock. It's one of my favourite ever books and it will remain so. And I think the Artisan Wraith will be way up there with some of my favourite books of all time. But looking at it from the objective point of view of the readership, again, yeah, you do need to have read the Kill Lock to get something out of the Artisan Wraith. Which means that Armorclads Dads is number 1 purely because, and I mentioned
it's a Valiant book.
Well, it is a Valiant book, but Valiant do own my soul. However, it's Valiant doing something new, and it's like I have been reading Shadowman, I have been reading Harbinger, I read whatever they put out, I read. But there are 2 of the current books at the moment. You've got Harbinger and Shadowman. I don't think they're entirely inaccessible to new readers. I think they're okay for new readers. But as someone who has been reading their books for, well, we won't say how long. What year is it? A long, long while. I get a heck of a lot more out of them, and I really enjoy them, and I love them to pieces, and I think the continuity in them is great. But I'm acutely aware that Valiant also need to be dragging in new blood. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that any of their recent books, I mean, Exo maybe, but again, I love it because it's, you know, probably because of what's come before. They need something to drag in new readers. They don't have to come into the full universe. That's fine, yeah. I mean, Armorclads might just segue them in, who's to say? But I think what Armorclads does really well is it's regurgitating familiar tropes, it's regurgitating familiar ideas in a new way, and that's really, really newbie friendly. And if you're coming in and reading it for the first time, you're not going to be completely lost and confused. You're going to understand narrative. It works for someone who's even not that familiar with comic books as a whole, because so much of it is kind of, if you're media savvy, you'll get it. Yeah. So for me, that's why it's number one, because it's Valiant doing something new, trying to expand out a little bit, and doing something that hopefully will bring in new readers. And I have to admire that, because Lord knows their business decisions over the last 5 years have been a little bit all over the shop. Yeah. But I feel like it feels like they have a direction, and I think that Armorclads feels like something. It's like, look, here we are, we're putting out a book, you don't need any prior knowledge, come on in. If you like this, then maybe later on in this run we'll segue you into seeing something else, and then you'll go, oh, I'll check that book out. But for now, you've got this, and if you like this, you might like our other stuff. Yeah. So there we are. That was a very long explanation.
But it's a solid argument, really, for it.
Yeah. The upshot is I agree with Zach.
I must say, this does feel like a conspiracy, because Will didn't agree with me. And you guys arranged this.
I can't help it when you're wrong.
But
just to defend my decision a little bit, I agree. Like, I can't unread the first kill log, and I completely agree with you. The appearance at the end of the Artisan Wraith would have had little to no impact other than just being a very cool design. But I also think this book has the best art, and the brand new 2 characters, I think, are the most interesting draw in that book. So I think, despite it having lost the emotional weight of who the Artisan Wraith is, I do think you could read this and still get something fresh out of it without having read Kill Log. Maybe not everything, but I think it's there.
Yeah. As much as a joke, I think those were like well argued lists, like particularly like me, Angela, because I was like, I would never have put Armorclads sort of up at my number one slot, but your argument for it makes a lot of sense. And like, in terms of Valiant needs to be doing stuff like this. Yeah. If I don't think we'll ever get 2012 excited about Valiant again.
But it's the year of Valiant.
This is 2022 is the year of Valiant. It's like the 10-year special. We're getting some stuff.
Or because of a typo in this...
The year of Valiant.
This issue. Yeah, the
year of Valiant.
The year of the Alien.
The year of that boiler company, Valiant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is that the end of the episode? Is that what this is?
I think that's what this is.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, me and Angela are right, obviously.
Clearly, yeah.
Will is less wrong. I am the most wrong.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
Yeah, I could live with that.
4 really good books, though. Yeah. I think
I kind of deserve it for posting that GIF of the Bahamut from Berserk.
Yeah, I'm going to close the chat window.
Yeah, you can do that now that we've done all of the...
I'm finally free.
You don't need any information.
What a shame it's burned into my mind forever.
So gross.
4 really good books this month, and there was a bunch of other number ones that looked pretty good as well. So I think good March in general.
Very good March.
I hope people check out some of these things based on the strength of recommendations. And we will be back next week when me and Angela discuss Jules Verne's Lighthouse.
Oh, cool. I will actually probably give that one a listen because, like, I struggled so much with Hellcop that.
Are you suggesting you don't listen to every episode?
I was going to say, is this?
I don't listen to every episode, just the ones that I'm on. No, I kid. Like, no, I'll definitely give that a listen because I struggled so much with Hellcop that I'd really like to hear, like, talking about another book from that creative team.
Yeah.
And kind of maybe get more of an understanding of what sort of connected you with it.
It being really rad.
Yeah.
Being super rad.
Being really good.
That's a good sales point. Do they put that on the book?
Yeah, but being super rad didn't help Count Crowley or the Kill Lock be number 1s and number 2s for anyone but me.
Oh, they're all winners this month.
They were.
Yeah, everyone gets.
But some are most winners.
Yeah. So this has been Bigger Than Capes. We have been Angela, Matt, Will, and Zach alphabetically, and we'll probably continue.
How long
to
did
be.
it take you to figure that out? Have you been doing the entire podcast?
Yeah, I've been doing it the entire time, Matt. You just don't listen to me. Or all the episodes you're not on, apparently.
Yeah.
That was a joke. I promise.
I'll check the stats. I'll know. Oh, damn, you're all based in the same Stockportian territory. I'll never know. I'll know if one of you isn't listening.
I'll use my VPN to take myself to Charlton.
What was the point? Oh, right, at the end. This has been Bigger Than Capes. And remember that comics are bigger than
capes.
Wow,
Unless
you guys
you're
are
the Wraith.
terrible.
Unless
Count Crowley, pay attention, Matt.
Did anyone else wear a cape?
No.
Nah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mostly Bigger Than Capes.